Hello and welcome to Nature Talk on Aftercast.com, where James and Tina will be your hosts for the next 30 to 45 minutes discussing nature as we see it. Join us each Wednesday for a new episode of Nature Talk. Hi, this is James.
And Tina.
And welcome to another episode of Nature Talk. All right. Doesn't seem like it's been a week since we did our last show, but we call our first show. It looks like the first show did real well there for starting off, and we want to continue to see listeners every week. And like I said, we try our best to get this out on a Wednesday, and we are cutting it close tonight. And this is Wednesday night, and it's 8:30 here in Eastern New York time. So, but we're getting it out there. It will take probably an hour yet. I'd say an hour and a half before it's actually posted. And Tina wasn't feeling well today, so she's not going to do the show with me this week. And this is the first show from all the shows we've ever done on here and on Aftercash, photo caching. First show that she's missed, so I can't complain about that. Alright, what we did have this week, we didn't have any pictures to put up on our picture, so I'm going to leave that the last week's pictures up on our show notes in case someone didn't get a chance to look at them last week. Today we have our special guest, Nature Girl. I think I mentioned her last week, saying that we was going to have her on the show. She is a former veterinary technician with about 23 years of service, and we got together, I think it was yesterday, and came up with a segment for the show. And she seemed real pleased to be able to do the show with me, and that takes up about 16, almost 17 minutes, so that will take our show pretty much halfway or so. So that will help me out, being that I'm doing this show by myself. Before we get started, I want to mention that next Wednesday, if everything goes good, we're going to have another special guest on, and that would be from a fella in Tucson, Arizona, who his name is Greg Ganos. I hope I pronounced that right. Ganos, I believe it is. And he is an author of a book that had just been published called Greg's Backyard Birdies. And he was busy this week doing some book signing for that new release. But he said that he would get with me this weekend or sometime and do a segment with us about his book that had just got published. So we're kind of anxious to hear about that, being that it was his first book. I know he's excited about it. And there's been places advertising it and going on, and I've been posting it just about everywhere. And so PR Web, what do they call it? PR Web. It's the place where that's advertising it. Page publishing. I hope I'm not getting this right. It says, anyway, it says Greg Ganos, a photographer and a avid bird watcher, has completed his first book, Greg's Backyard Birdies, a wonderful crafted collection of photographs of birds from the viewpoint of the author's backyard in Tucson, Arizona. Author Greg Ganos said of what motivated him in his work, he said, "Due to my disability, I like to get in my power chair, grab my camera, and spend hours in my backyard taking shots of birds, sunsets, and anything to do with the desert." So it's published by New York City-based Page Publishing, and Greg Ganos' beautiful work highlights some of the country's most spectacular winged creatures right from the author's expansive backyard. Now I've met Greg on his web his Facebook page, and real nice fella, and we been chatting quite a bit here lately, and so we just wish him the luck with his publishing, and hope that he's not going to stop at that one book. And I know we'll ones that have already heard about this are hoping that he'll make several books, because that's his hobby, that's what he likes. And you usually, if you do something you like, you'll go long ways with that. So there you go. So we're going to try to get him on here by next Wednesday, so we can air him with the show. So right now what we're going to do is just go right into Nature Girl, and so you can hear what she had to say, and then we might even cut the show short a little bit tonight, but we'll give you the best we can. So bear with us, hang in there, and here we go with Nature Girl. Hello.
Hi.
And how are you today?
I'm doing just fine, James. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to have you on the show, because we've run into some problems every once in a while where, like when we're looking up information on the internet, and we're having a lot of differences in some things. Like the last thing we had was the gray fox.
Yes.
Yeah, and we wanted to get that straight, because I know pretty sure by now that we told it wrong last week when we did it. I was reading where the gray fox had retractable claws, and Tina, when she was looking it up, was reading where they didn't have retractable claws. And so, I thought, we'll get a hold of Nature Girl and see what she says with all the experience that she's had with it, and ask her. And totally, you say they don't have retractable claws.
No, not in my experience. I have had to trim the claws of the gray foxes and red foxes because of being in captivity. They don't get them wore down from, like they would when they're out in the wild. And so you have to trim them down for them. And they don't retract. Their pads have a thicker pad, and they're kind of rounded. And unless they're in a soft ground or a muddy ground, you're not going to see those claw prints, or if they're going to take off to run like you do with the big cats, because of the way the pad is rounded underneath. You just don't see those toenails, the prints of them. And some people think because of that they retract. They don't retract. They stay out, just like domesticated dogs.
So you was talking about their rotation of the wrist and thing, and that's what was getting them the ability to climb the trees.
Yes, they're able to. The way the wrist, or that joint above the paw, is made, they can manipulate that paw in different directions to climb trees. But a normal domesticated dog can climb a tree too. They do it by using the front paws to hug the tree and the back paws to push.
Okay.
And they can climb a tree. And a domesticated dog like we have as pets can do the same, if they want to, given the keyword want to.
Right. So that clarified what we did last week when we said that they had retractable claws. There was three websites says they did, and 3 websites says they didn't, and that's well, it's time to see nature go.
Yes. No, they don't have retractable claws. Very few animals do have the retractable claws. The domesticated cats that we have as house cats do, but the foxes, dogs, type of animals don't.
Okay. Well, thanks for that information. And I was talking to you too earlier about the holes that we was finding in our yard.
Yes.
Yeah, we was finding some holes in the yard, and it was a toss-up between an armadillo and a possum.
Yes.
But then you come out and looked at them and said that it was the possum because of the little tail trail.
Yes.
But the armadillo, you said, would leave what, like 2 lines?
The armadillo, when they dig, one, they have a much longer claw to them, and 2, they have a hard shell that protects them. And when they dig, a lot of times you'll see that shell from rocking back and forth, and they drag it. It leaves distinctive marks.
Okay.
And you didn't have that. You had their tail mark, their feet and claw marks. But it was a possum that came knocking last night.
We was surprised that I posted that video on my YouTube channel, and then I hit it up on Facebook and a couple other places. And what got my attention, we was sitting there just playing our games and stuff last night, and one of the cats leaped up on top of the couch and looked out the window like it was frozen to that glass. And I said, what did she see? Because it hadn't been something big, because she was laying on the floor.
Yeah.
So I get up and I go up to the window and I look out, and wow, it's huge. So I got the big flashlight, and I turned it on and held it up to the glass where it wouldn't glare back on me. I said, that's an armadillo. So I grabbed a camcorder, and Tina grabbed her camera, and it was about 1 o'clock last night. we sitting there trying to get capture that on.
Well, a funny little tidbit about armadillos: people think that they get ran over because they scoot and run underneath the car, but actually, how they actually get hurt or get killed by cars is armadillos get startled. They actually jump straight up in the air.
I've heard that.
So when they're up underneath your car, how they get hurt or killed is they get startled from the noise and stuff from your car, that they actually jump straight up underneath your car and hit the underneath of your car, and that's how they get injured or killed, by jumping straight up, not by trying to get from underneath it.
Imagine if you did run over one, it'd probably flip the car over. Maybe the shell's pretty tough.
They're pretty tough, but not that tough when it comes to a car. When it comes to other animals, they can pretty well take care of themselves. They roll up into a ball and tuck their feet and tail and head in. I know when I was a kid, we used to call them roly-polies,
right.
The little bugs.
Yeah.
And that's what they remind me of. They roll up like that. And they they can protect themselves from most any kind of animal that way.
Now, I noticed out here that there's some foxes and there's some raccoons and possums.
Yes.
Now, I've seen some fox in the daytime and night, and I've seen the raccoons in daytime and night, but the possum and the armadillo I never see in the daytime. When the armadillo goes in for the day, does he really have to go in somewhere and hide, or does he just go up into his shell?
He'll go into a old log or a little den like. They sleep like a raccoon or an animal like that.
That's the first one I've ever seen live. Of course, I used to drive a truck back in the 70s and 80s, but I see a lot of them through Texas, but they're already off the side of the road and done been ran over.
Well, and a lot of people, they say, well, if you see them during the day, they've got rabies, to be afraid of them. Well, they're nocturnal animals, but that's not a true saying.
Right.
Because they'll go wherever they need to go to get food and water. And if it's the case that they have to go during the day, they're going to come out during the day to get it. So
Right.
it's not that they're going to be sick if you see them during the day. It's just that, their food and their water just happen to be available during the day. Ours comes out during the day because that's when their food and their water is mostly available to them. Once in a while we see the possums during the day, but mostly they're out at night. And the armadillos, you'll see them at night. The possums are really cute when they have their babies because they tote all their babies on them.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah, if they have, 6, 7 of them, they have 6, 7 of them all on her back holding onto her fur. And that's where she totes all of them around.
That's got to be cool to see. Now, the alligator, I've only seen that one alligator, but I've seen him several times down in the canal.
Mm-hmm.
Up on a rock, and Tina and I was coming back home one day, and we decided to go that way. But the alligator was laying over there just on the other side of the canal, so we was probably 100 feet from it, and stopped the car, and she got out, and there was a clearing space there. Well, she got her camera up, and just about the time she got a picture of it, the I-75 runs right next to the canal. It's probably, another 50 feet from it.
Yes.
Well, as soon as she got her camera up, before she could get it focused, 2 motorcycles went by. And that alligator took off just scrambling. That aggravates her because there's a lot of good shots that she could get if they just wait another 30 seconds.
Yes.
And so, see, what we'll do, I think we told this to the listeners out there, but all the pictures that we get during the week for our nature show, we post it on Flickr.
Yes.
And each week, like this is episode 2, so we'll have in our show notes a link to click on that takes you to just that week's show with the pictures that we have.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so that way if anybody sends in a picture and that, and we'll talk about it on the show, and that's where we'll post their pictures and where they're from and what about the animal or birds. We're doing a little bit of everything.
Going back to the alligator, a lot of times when you see them up on a rock in the sun, they like to sun a lot, but when they eat, they have to go up on the rock and warm. That's how they digest their food. It's through the warmth.
They have to get warm?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So they get up on a rock or up on the side of the canal or wherever they are and get that warmth to help digest that food.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
So if you see an alligator laying up on the rocks, he's either just getting warmed up or he just ate.
Yeah, and he's trying to digest that food.
Oh, that's interesting too. 'Cause like I say, there's a lot of things I don't know about the animal, especially going to different areas like Florida, from Ohio, from Texas to Arizona, and different places like that.
Yes, and a lot of times it's bad because people are misunderstood, or they misunderstand the animals because people tell them the wrong thing, and so they either fear the animals or they get told the right thing to enjoy them.
Right.
And that's bad because they come down here and our wildlife, we have such an abundance of wildlife down here to see and to enjoy that.
People are afraid of them.
Right. And I mean, you need to respect the wildlife, but you can enjoy it too. And there is so much to see.
Well, I've seen more wildlife down here in 5 months I've been here than I've seen in my whole life between Illinois and Ohio. And that's, I might have seen 3 or 4 deer up till I was about 18. Of course, we see the rabbits, squirrels, snakes, and possum. But that was normal. That was just like birds here. But Ohio, of course, we lived in the city there. And back in Illinois, I lived out in the country. So now down here in Florida, it's out in the country. They're just, you see them just about anywhere you go. And what surprised me was they had the caution panther crossing signs.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Well, it's like we live in Naples, which is a very large city, but we got the best of two. We've got the city, but we kind of live in the country. We live on 10 acres here, but we have all the wildlife. I mean, we get up in the morning, we see the panthers in our yard. We see the deer. We see the rabbits. The canal is in our backyard where we see the turtles. We see the alligators. We have the coyotes and the foxes and the raccoons. So we have it all right here.
The first time that I seen a raccoon down here, I was all excited, you know. And it was like about 20, 30 feet from me and said, "Hey, a raccoon!" You know, "Hey, I seen a raccoon!" You know, and I'm telling everybody, and they say, "Yeah, okay, well, so what can I see that everybody else can get a little excited over?"
Well, wait until you see, because we have otters that comes out of the canal, so you'll get to see those. We have iguanas. Okay. We are run by iguanas. I mean, people pay pet stores to buy them, and they run wild here.
That reminds me of when I was back driving a truck when Mount St. Helens exploded, and that was way back, you know.
Uh-huh.
When I was going to deliver my load, and I stopped at a gas station, got me a sandwich, something to drink. I seen these little vials, a couple inches, 2.5 inches tall, and big around as your thumb, and it had volcano dust in it.
Uh-huh.
$3.50, you know. I thought, wow, I'm going to buy that and take it home and show everybody. So I'm all excited about that. So when I get to I was picking up a load of apples when I was all done. And I was telling the foreman there, I said, "Yeah, that's what I bought. I'm going to take this home and show it to all my friends." He says, "Come here a minute." I said, "Okay." So I followed him. He stopped in this little room, and he got a gallon milk jug. He walks over to the door, he opens up the door, hands me the jug, and he says, "Take all you want out there for nothing." So, you know, that reminds me of the people wanting to buy those iguanas, and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, now we're going to go ahead and let this part of the show kind of calm down a little bit. But we do appreciate you being on the show, and hope you come back sometime, and maybe we can get listeners, if they have any questions that we can't answer, we can get with you.
Okay, no problem.
And so we'll be listening for that. If anybody has any questions or comments or anything to make on this segment, you can just send an email to naturetalk@outlook.com, or you can go to a website called speakpipe.com/hikerjames, spelled HIKERJAMZ. And there you'll see a recorder, and just click on record and send your message to that, and we get that through our email. Got all kind of different ways for people to get a hold of us, and that's what we're trying for. So, like I said, you know, we thank you for being on the show, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there we go, and we hope everybody enjoyed this part of the show, and hope we made a few little points there about some of the nature here in Florida. We would like to hear your side of nature, where you're from, and to do that, we'd like for everyone to send us an email to naturetalk@outlook.com, or you can send a voice message to speakpipe.com/hikerjames. That's HIKERJAMZ, like zebra. And that will give you a 90-second audio that you can record and send to us. Also, if you're interested in doing a longer or easier way to give us your story, you can call us on our it's the studio line that will reach to my cell phone if nobody is in the studio to answer it, and that number is 937-381-9345. 888-843. And another way, which isn't too awfully bad either, would happen to be from me calling you, because I have a unlimited Skype number that I can call out on, and that way it wouldn't, if you're being charged for calling me, you could have me call your number, and I can record a conversation right there off of Skype and upload that to the studio. So the reason why I was saying a while ago that I might call this short today is because, like I tell everybody on the other podcasts that I do, when it's awful hard to sit and stare at the wall and talk about something for 30 minutes and make sense out of it. So yeah, it's not easy at all. Try it sometime. I know some people walk around all day talking to themselves, but they're not really making sense, are they? So anyway, that was about all we had really this week. Of course, you know, we're just starting out. We've only done one show, and this is our show number 2. And I'm sure by next week we will have a lot more to talk about there with when Tina comes back with us. So, wow, until I start getting some emails or voice messages, there's not really anything else I can add to it except for what we go out and try to do on our own. I do hope that everybody is going to have a nice weekend coming up. I don't think there's anything important on this calendar for this weekend, but for somebody, they're having an important weekend, I'm pretty sure. So if everybody goes out and does a little nature walk or do some photography, video, whatever they do when they go out. I don't know where all you're from, but that's another thing too I would like to know is where's everybody listening to us from. If you could just take time to send an email telling, you could just tell me your first name, where you listen to the show from, and what your favorite outdoors adventures are. Or do you watch the birds, or do you watch the animals? Do you keep an eye out on your plants in your garden? Or however it is that your nature hobbies, I'd like to hear about that. And we could also throw that on the show. Anything that will help us take up our time on our broadcast. So I'm sure somebody has time for that. And like I said, if you can send that to naturetalk@outlook.com, or you can even throw that on that little short audio of speakpipe.com/hikerjames, spelled HIKERJAMZ. Don't ask me how I come up with that. It's a long story. When I thought it was pronounced Hiker James. Then I found out later through some people from the UK and some different countries that pronounce words when they see them, not like I do. They said they're pronouncing it Hiker Jams. So anyway, it doesn't matter which way you pronounce it. I call myself Hiker James, but if you pronounce it at Hiker Jams, that's fine. It's too late to change it because I've done these shows for going on 2 years now, and if I change the spelling of my name, that's going to change everything, and it'd be hard for people to try to find out where I am, who I am. If you want to search on Google, search Hiker James with the Z, and you'll be surprised. I was. How many different places I popped up on there. Wow. doesn't take long for you to get out there and spread out into the world. We have listeners from all over the place, all over. Like I said, from the UK to Canada, some people down in South Africa have heard my show, and it's just everywhere. So I'm hoping that this one will get out there also, because being that I put it on with the same program that I use for my photo caching show, it goes on there when they search for it. I was just trying to figure out how many different places my show does post to whenever I'm done broadcasting. Well, first it goes to Facebook, and it goes to my iTunes, and it goes to YouTube, it goes to Tumblr, wow, that's just a couple of them, but I'm sure that you'll be able to find that out. One day I'll put the whole list on the show notes so that you can catch me any different way you can. We are on let's see, what is Stitcher? I don't know if anybody heard of Stitcher or not. It's an app you can download on your phone, and you can search for Hiker James on that. I do have a Pinterest account, but that doesn't have the show on it. Tumblr does have the show, and we have SoundCloud. It goes onto that automatically. So we're pretty much spread out enough to where whatever program you want to listen to the show on, it's there. And so if we mess up, we do it pre-recorded every week, because we don't want to have be interrupted with spamming and stuff. We've tried it live show, and it didn't work out just well. I had to real quickly delete the whole show one time before it. Well, actually, it didn't all get deleted, but I deleted most of it within a matter of minutes after it was published. And we was screening the people, and they was lying to us, telling us what they was going to talk about. And as soon as we brought them on the air, they just started in with it was bad. So we want this to be a family-friendly show, and that's the only way we can do it, is to pre-record it. And I'm sure nobody wants to sit around and hear things like that anyway, whether it's family-friendly or not. It's not our way of doing it, so we're not going to drag everybody else into it. Anyway, that's just a few things to add to the show to try to keep things going, but it looks like I'm running out of things to talk about. We've been on here for 33 minutes now, and I believe that would probably make a good show. We talked about the Armadillo with Nature Girl. That was really interesting to be able to look right out your window and see an armadillo working his way through your yard trying to find some food to eat. I'm going to do a little more research on them to find out just exactly where they could hide. Like Nature Girl said that they will find them a hole or a nest or some kind, and then curl up into their shell. They're pretty and they're ugly, so they're pretty ugly. They look like an anteater from the nose, and they look like rabbits with the ears, and they look like a snake tail hanging out of them with the spirals. So that's the first time I've really seen one live. I've seen a lot of dead ones in Texas, but it was worth watching. And I probably got I probably got about 10 minutes of video on it, but I cut it down to quite a bit so I could get it uploaded easier to my YouTube. I think if you want to try it out, I believe the address to get to my YouTube is youtube.com/HikerJames1. That's with a Z. Everything's with a Z. Whenever I say Hiker James, it's with a Z. HIKERJAMZ 1, number 1. Just the number 1. Yeah, Hiker James 1. I tried to get Hiker James out of it, and I had it for a while, and I lost my password, and I got so messed up I finally deleted it. And then when I went back and started a new one, it wouldn't let me have that name again because it was already showed that there was one there. So I put the 1 in front of it, and it did good. So I've got quite a few of my shows on there. I believe I've got my shows on there from way back when. At least I know that when Tina and I started on this show. But hey, you guys, it's a pleasure being able to sit here and talk to you, and we hope we're getting somewhere with it. Like I said, we sure do appreciate feedback so that we'll have something else to talk about for the next week. If you happen to call that number, that 937-381-9343, I'm just going to do that phone number from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So anyway, any information that you can have for us, try to get it to us before Wednesday. We'll call Tuesday night at midnight to cut off. If we don't get it by then, we can't put it on the next show. If it's after midnight on Tuesday night, Eastern New York time, we'll have to run it on the next show. So just remember that. Anytime up until then, we can do it. So all right, we're gonna let it go and try to stretch this out to 40 minutes and shut her down. But anyway, we really enjoy doing this show. But like I said, if we're both doing it, it seems like it goes a lot faster and we have a lot more to talk about. And especially if we get email or voice messages, that really helps out. And so until next week, everybody have a safe week, what's left of it, and a safe weekend coming up. Hope you get out there and do some nature digging and enjoy yourself. And we'll talk at you next Wednesday. Looks like, what is next Wednesday? 22nd? Looks like the 22nd from here. Okay, so till next week, see ya.